Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed.
One of the things that stood out, right? Because this podcast is about helping people who they sitting on the sidelines to a certain extent, right?
Sure.
They dreaming, they want to either start a business and become a first-time solopreneur, right? We're trying to help them get to that point. And there was something that you said that really stood out to me, which was the fact that you first had to discover what you didn't want to do.
Yes.
How important do you feel like that is along our journey, especially when somebody is considering entering into a business, they've been hesitating? How important is it to know, hey, that's what I should not be doing?
I think it's extremely important. I think for me, it came out of, it's having a single mom. But, I went and visit my dad every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But trying things to make sure that I could help provide for her.
Right.
And so, that for me was like, okay, what can I do that I like to do, but I could also end up helping my mother if when I get to
Yes.
that position.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I go back to your original question. It's extremely important, and you really have to try different things. It's not going to, come to you. You're going to have to go out there and get it. And like I said,
Right.
I describe those odd and end jobs, and it's like, trying to fit, it's like knowing I didn't want to, but it's like, I
Right.
want to take the burden off my mom worrying about school clothes or things of that nature,
Right.
so she could focus on taking care of my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Because at a young age, I just my mom them always tell me I've been grown for a while, so you kind of just do your own thing. So I kind of figured that out, but definitely establishing while you're searching for what you want to do, you can eliminate it by things that knowing that what you don't want to do.
Right. And when you
But the
go
key is
back,
trying, though. I would say the key is definitely trying.
most
It's
definitely.
just fail. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You will definitely you'll be stronger for it. You could learn a particular um, thing from that failure that might help. Be a stepping stone for something else. And I think
Right.
um, that's really how like my journey is like I've taken something from everything to get to
Mhm.
here.
Wow.
And so it's those interactions at church, the interactions with my uncles during the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
even the winos at times, they tend to have
Right.
a piece of good of advice. So I would say, take that chance definitely, and use it all to your advantage.
What's going on, Success Squad? I hope you're enjoying this discussion with my man Barry. If you are, hit the like button and leave a comment letting us know your thoughts or your takeaways or any questions that you may have. I promise you I will respond to any comments that I see. Now, if you want to gain full access to this discussion with my man Barry, you want to become a part of our Patreon. All you got to do is go over to patreon.com/JImmanuel. The link will be in the description, and you can gain full access to even more gems that my man Barry has for my aspiring business owners. But right now, let's get back to this clip, y'all.
And focus on what you have and what you can utilize at that time,
Mm-hmm.
um, versus focusing on what you don't have, because
Right.
you'll get there, but just stay focused on that.
Most definitely. And it's so interesting because you went right where I was about to go, which is when you look at the jobs that you had, whether you consider them odd jobs or just jobs that help you to get to the place that you're at now. Let's take the chicken catching, for example. Is there anything from that job that you look back and you be like, yo, I learned that lesson and I'm applying it today? And it probably wouldn't even be possible if I wasn't doing that at that time.
Man. So I learned I did not want to be in a job walking around in chicken manure all day. So it made it that like like my grandmother would make me strip before I even walked in the house during that time. But so I would definitely say, like, that's some hard work, man. You need a back
Mhm.
brace. You bending up, picking up chickens all day, putting them
Wow.
in crates. Luckily that was a short-lived job, thank the
Mhm.
Lord. But that lesson definitely taught me. I would definitely rather have it on the plate than having to go pick it up out of the pen.
Right.
Just uh, but but that's just the way I see it.
Yo, I
Um,
love that. I love that. The other thing that stands out about your journey too is the difference in location, right? You
yes.
go to from Virginia to Chicago.
Rural Virginia too. Like I'm on the
Wow.
eastern shore. Like it's you got to cross the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel to get to where I'm at. So you got to
Wow.
pass cotton fields.
Hmm.
It's I'm on that route just going up.
Mhm.
north on the East Coast. You know, that town that you pass, you're like, man, I feel bad for whoever here live here. You know, uh, you know, when you see signs like, you know, you see literally, you know, it's like cigarettes, bacon, and pecan rolls is all the signs that you see. So
Yo,
it's like,
yo, that's hilarious, man. That is a heck of a mix,
but
man.
that's true. You know what I mean? It's where I'm from, man. You know,
Right.
I love it. You know, I'm grateful for it. But
Mhm.
you know, I tell my mom all the time. You know, I love you. You know, I'm gonna come to visit, but you know, Lord willing, I don't plan on coming back to stay. You know, not unless it's just for the summer. But you know, it's
Right.
nah.
So, what is some of the key differences outside of the obvious, right, between living in rural Virginia and now living in Chicago? Like, what are some of the things that stand out to you most?
Man, where do you start? One, the internet is extremely fast here,
I
and they
bet.
barely getting internet. You know, like you know, it's extremely slow. You know,
Mhm.
down my street. You know,
Okay.
oh, man, the access to just entertainment,
Mhm.
the ability to network. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The opportunity just to thrive. Like you know,
Right.
where I'm from, we have to drive everywhere. You know, I remember when I first
Mhm.
got here, people was complaining about having to drive like 15 to 20 minutes or something. I'm like, I gotta drive 45 minutes to the mall each way or to the hospital. Like driving
Right.
is all that we do.
Right.
So it didn't have public transportation. So it's like, man, this ain't a bad life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got the bears, the bull. I mean, anything you want. You know, the theater. So but I think, you know,
Mhm.
and the cost of seafood is extremely expensive.
Right.
I mean, man, it's so high out here. But when I go back home, is what I miss is the, you know, that
Right.
access to seafood, the ability to slow down a little bit more, the
Mhm.
ability to see stars at night when you walk out. You know, it's
Mhm.
you don't hear all the traffic all the time. You know, back at
Right.
home, it's you know, it's the crickets. You know, I mean, although you really don't want to be in the woods late at night either, but
Right.
you know,
Not at
it's
all.
and it's street lights, man. You know, it's lights all
Mm.
over the place in the city. Back at home, you on
Mhm.
back roads with no lights, so you know
Right.
it's definitely great to go back home to slow down. But
Mhm.
you know, after a little while, I'm like, yeah, I miss you know, back in the city life.
I hear that. And the main thing that I really want to touch on when it comes to the environment is you know how impactful it can be on our mind state, right?
Yes.
And having been in rural Virginia and also the fast and bustling city life of Chicago, what would you say are some of the primary key differences between the mindset? You know, how it helps you either thrive or what mindset it puts you in when you're working.
Well, I mean, for me,
Mhm.
how I grew up, and going back and forth between my mom and dad, seeing my mom sometimes struggle where my dad wouldn't, and seeing that image
Mhm.
of what it is to have to experience going without,
Right.
um, like getting it out of the mud makes me just grind harder. You know, for
Mm.
me, I don't make excuses. My pastor had like sayings of like knowing church members,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Well, who says I won't complain?" And everybody's like, "Mr. Barry, like that's just me." They're like, "Man, how you doing?" Man, I can't complain. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
not going to. Um,
Mm.
Anyone that knows me, that's one of the first things I say because it's there's always a situation where someone is praying for where you are at,
Right. Right.
and knowing that God has blessed me in this opportunity, I'm not going to quit,
Right.
right? And if I get tired, my energy's low, He's the one who will replenish all that.
That's right.
So that's why I look for that. But the mindset for me, like I said, it was no option. I have to make
Mhm.
it happen because
Mhm.
the lifestyle that I saw myself having
Mhm.
with a family and all, it would have been very hard to obtain there. So I
Mm.
use going back home as sort of a centering piece of understanding that if you don't grind,
Mhm.
you're going to be back here.
Right.
And it's the place that you said that you would never come back to
Mm.
unless it's to
Wow.
visit or the less to take care of your mom or my
Mhm.
sisters or my family. Like that's the for me the mindset. You know, nothing against individuals here, but they've had a lot more than what I had. And
Mm.
starting off,
Right.
so I think having those humble beginnings, it's things that would maybe trigger. an individual to be frustrated or upset, I'm
Mhm.
looking at the positive side of it, because it's like,
Right.
how can this benefit me, or what can I gain? Because I know if I get off focus, I'm gonna be somewhere where I'm not, where it's not closer to my goal, and
That's
that's, I
right.
have to keep those things in the forefront, right?
Right.
One of the things I tell my team all the time, and I do, in my life, is, I separate, what's busy and what's productive. Right? And I'm
Right.
trying to be productive. So for
Yes,
me to be
sir.
productive, I have to be focused and work on the things that are going to get me there.
Mhm.
So, and
Mhm.
push the, just being busy,
Right.
anybody can be busy.
Facts.
You talk to people who's always busy doing something, but when
Mhm.
you ask them, well, have you progressed towards what you're trying to do? It's like,
Right.
no, man, not really. So,
Mhm.
I
No, the
think
way I look
that's
at it, a dog chasing his tail is busy, but it definitely ain't productive.
no, it's
You know what I'm saying? And it's like a
exactly
lot of people are like that. It's like they're just running around in a circle, not really accomplishing or achieving anything. And we don't want to be that. We don't want to be chasing our own tail. We want to
no.
be living productive lives, like you mentioned.
All right, Success Squad, we're going to stop it right here. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our discussion with Barry. Man, it's a great one. If you haven't already, join our Patreon over at patreon.com/JImmanuel to gain full access. My man Barry has so much more that he's going to share about his journey and what aspiring business owners can do to make sure that their businesses are profitable and successful from the start. I hope you will take advantage of it. The link is in the description, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, stay blessed.